What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the Detroit Lions offense. And this Lions offense against this Minnesota Vikings defense for this Week 9 matchup. Let's get it started.
I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here. And if you don't have energy coming into this game, if you're lacking some kind of motivation, you just need something to get you hype about Sunday's matchup, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is watch Everson Griffin's press conference with the Detroit Lions about the Minnesota Vikings. This guy will get you pumped. All right, the things that he said about Mike Zimmer, I do have a video on it if you want to check it out. Whoa, man, it got me hyped to see our defense. But now we have to talk about the offensive side. How can the Lions put up points against this Vikings defense? Because if you know me, I have not been very pleased with our offensive production so far this season. We scored over 30 points one time so far this year, and I have not been very pleased with our play calling, okay? And I think that's been a very big problem. Now, if you want a full video where I break down what I think the problem was specifically against the Colts, I do have a video I put up early in the week. But this one, I'm really going to try to just focus on the Vikings and hope that we come out with the right game plan, because that's been one of my biggest problems and one of my biggest, I can say, gripes about what our offense is doing and why I think we're not putting up the production that we should with the talent that we have. Coming in with some injuries, Kenny Golladay is not expected to play, neither is Jamal Agnew. I want to make this clear that Mohamed Sanu technically could be active. He only had one day of practice. I believe he did practice today, so he could be active. We could see him be brought up from the practice squad, so keep an eye on him. Matthew Stafford, we're still not sure as of now when I'm recording this video, but if he can play, obviously that makes a huge difference. Even without practicing with the team, it makes a huge difference to have Matthew Stafford than Chase Daniel. And I like Chase Daniel. I'm glad we have him, but Stafford's just something else. And to me, this is a must-win game. I'm putting it in that category as the Lions need to find a way to win this game against the Minnesota Vikings. They're 3-4. It's a divisional opponent. They just beat the Green Bay Packers, so they're feeling good. You got to find a way to win this, because I just think the NFC is too tough to just lose. And I just don't think you can lose many more games in this NFC. I just think it's too difficult to make the playoffs with losses in the NFC in general. And if we continue to do it, we're going to be in big trouble. But if we can get this win, that'll tell me that, okay, this team's continuing to improve. They're winning the games they're supposed to, and that means they could potentially string a couple together and get back right into the driver's seat of being in a playoff spot. But right now, they got to find a way to beat the Minnesota Vikings. And this Vikings defense, I know the stats will tell you they are not legit, but I'm here to tell you they are legit. And I'm here to also tell you why they don't look legit and why their stats are so bad. Now, some of it is they're not a good defense, okay? They're not a great I'm not coming in here saying this is a great defense Lions about to face. But I am here saying that the defense isn't as bad. And I know I seem to say that a lot, but I really, really mean it with the Vikings. Like, I really do. Do not underestimate this Vikings defense because of the stats. And let me tell you why. When you look at the points per game they're giving up, it's 30.6. You see that? 29th in the league? Wow. We're going to roll in here. We're going to score 30. This is going to be light work. That's not the case. The reason that stat looks so bad is because of this. And it's one of the keys. And it comes to the whole team. It's turnovers. The Lions have to force turnovers. And the reason that I say that is because if you look at the Minnesota Vikings so far this season, their biggest problem for the defense has been their offense. And that is turnovers by the offense, putting the defense in terrible positions. Just awful spot. Just an awful spot. They have the worst average starting field position as a defense. Most teams are starting on average at their own 35-yard line. That's not right. That's not good. That's going to make it tough for your defense. This is already a defense that's depleted on the D-line, that has young cornerbacks, right? That trade away Yannick. They got a lot of things going against them. And then your offense continues to turn it over. Kirk Cousins has 10 interceptions so far this season, and it's not all his fault. But when you do that, you put your defense in a really rough spot. And let me tell you how big of an impact this is, because these aren't just numbers. These are facts. When Kirk Cousins doesn't throw an interception, it's not very often, but there's 2 games he's done. There's 2 games he hasn't thrown an interception this year. And I bet you can guess they've won both of those games. They only have 2 wins, and those 2 wins come when Kirk Cousins didn't throw an interception. And it wasn't like Kirk just went out and balled out that game. If you look at the Packers game, who they won last week, a big upset, he only threw the ball 14 times. He just didn't make that mistake. They were good enough to win. This is a good competitive team. Like, if you look at their schedule and you see their opponents, Packers, Colts, Titans, Texans, Seahawks, Falcons, Packers, like, that's pretty tough. I mean, that's a tough 8 games to play. 2 wins, not great, but that's a tough schedule to play. 2 wins, not great, but it's still a tough schedule. You're 2-5, but you could have potentially won more competitive in certain games if you wouldn't have had these mistakes. I mean, they could have beat the Seahawks without mistakes, right? They could have beat them. The Falcons game would have been much closer on the scoreboard. The Colts game probably would have been much closer on the scoreboard if they didn't make these dumb mistakes. But that's what continues to happen. So I'm really hoping our defense can help out our offense here by getting us some turnovers, which we haven't had in a minute. That'd be great if we could force some turnovers. Everson Griffin, maybe get a strip sack, something, especially if Stafford can't play. We really do need Stafford in this game. But Chase Daniel, we're touching on him just a little bit. He has had some success against Minnesota in the past. Last time he played him, he beat him 16-6. And at that time, you could make a case that, hey, Minnesota had a better defense. But again, they held him to 6 points. So, I mean, it's not too hard to put over 6 points in the NFL. But he did win. He's had some success against divisional opponents. He's beat us before. I have confidence that Chase Daniel can still get the job done if we have to. And I think the scheme fits and my game plan fits for both quarterbacks here because I think there's enough similarities. But Stafford is a complete difference maker. Even without practice, it's different to have Stafford. We already know we're probably coming in without Galladay and Agnew and potentially many other injuries. So having Stafford is something that we have to keep an eye on. As of now, I don't know if he tested negative again, but for the last 2 days, as of now recording this, he has. Okay, so let's talk about this Vikings defense. Let's roll through the stats real quick. Pass defense, not very good. 67.9% completion percentage allowed is 24th. These are all below average, by the way. 110.5 pass rating allowed. This is on average 31st in the league. Only 14 sacks. That is 22nd in the league. And only 3 interceptions. That is tied for 31st in the league. That's not very good, okay? None of those stats point out and say, wow, that's great. And they give up a lot of passing touchdowns. How about that run defense? Well, the run defense is kind of darn good. It's kind of good. It's not Colts level, but it's pretty solid. Right now, 4.2 yards per carry, which is 11th, and 124.4 yards per game, which is 19th. Keep in mind some of that's skewed because when you're down by 20, the opponent, they're not throwing the ball. They're just running the clock out. Now, that run defense sounds good, right? Okay, they have a good run defense. But let's add to those stats just a little bit more. If you go game by game, and the yards per carry that they have allowed, you will see that there's a few outliers that make that number look a little worse. But for the most part, they shut down most teams' rushing attack. Look at the Packers week 1, 4.9 yards per carry. That's their first game of the season. They gave up 43 points. But really since then, 3.8, 3.9, 3.7, 7.8 to Seattle because Russell Wilson had 5 carries for 50-plus yards. That will change the averages. Falcons 2.7, Packers 4.5. That's a pretty tough run D. It's not great, but it's up there. I mean, it's a good run D. This defense is not some kind of walk in the park. We're not going to stroll in here and score 30-plus unless we get some help from the other side of the ball, I believe, and force some turnovers. I don't see this offense putting up 30 because I don't have the confidence to believe that from what I've seen so far with Bevell. Even if Stafford and Galladay were healthy, I wouldn't have that confidence. But I think it can be done because I do believe we have the talent to do it. We just need to make sure that we come out with the right game plan to do it. And it really does start with turnovers because obviously if we turn over, that hurts. But if we can force some turnovers, that will be huge. The next key I want to get into before we get into the film, third downs. One of the best teams in the league on third down. They're the 5th best team in the league when it comes to third down conversion rate at 35.4. Also in the red zone, 8th at 57.7. So you can see when they need it the most, they're pretty good. Third downs, top 5 in the league on third downs. You get into some third down situations and you're going to be in a tough spot. But obviously having a shorter third down helps. And what we'll see in the film and what you can see by watching it yourself, and we'll probably see on Sunday, when you're third and long, it's difficult. Mike Zimmer does a really good job of disguising. I mean, he disguises a lot. You don't know who's coming. It's kind of like the Lions defense. Sometimes they blitz. They can blitz. They'll blitz about 29% of the time, which is about middle of the pack. They'll blitz. Sometimes they'll drop 7, 8 in the coverage. They mix a lot of different things at you. Third and long is never a spot you want to be in because you're one-dimensional. But I still believe the Lions can pick some of those up with the talent that they have. But either way, they're pretty good third down defense, pretty good red zone defense. It's really, that's the only stat that looks bad here is their passing defense. And it's better when they can stop the run. Their passing defense is much, much better when they can stop the run. And recently, they've been able to stop the run. So we'll hop into the film in a second, but I want to talk about this Packers game. They pulled off the upset on the Packers. They held them to 22 points after giving up 43 in week 1. What was the difference? Well, first off, they didn't turn the ball over, so they didn't put their defense in any bad spots. Next up, their offense, staying on the offensive side of things, the Vikings continued to score and put pressure back on the Packers. And finally, they made adjustments. The Vikings made adjustments. One thing Mike Zimmer came out and said is this: we made adjustments for the run game at halftime. After halftime, until literally the last drive, they allowed 3.4 yards per carry. They were shutting down the run. And the way that they did it was kind of similar to how I see us do it, kind of bringing pressure to try to stop the run. It worked. They were shutting down the run game. And the Packers, without having tons of receivers, weapons at receiver, they don't get tons of separation. And if they can't run the ball, it makes them very one-dimensional. Then playing from behind, you're not playing to their defensive strengths. And all of a sudden, the Packers were in a tough spot. And the Vikings were basically saying, hey, we're going to force everything underneath. You can pass that. And they were shutting down the run. Plus, their front four was getting after it. They played some zone. They mixed in some man. They mixed in some blitzes. And the Packers, I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked uncomfortable. You don't usually see a lot. Dude looked uncomfortable back there. He was missing some passes that were open. For Stafford, if he plays, even if it's Daniel, you got to be on point because they have good coverage. Their coverage numbers don't look great, but they're not bad in coverage. So let's go take a look at the film side of things. We'll dive into what I think the Lions can do against this defense and what they should stay away from. And yeah, we'll talk about the key players and things like that. Let's go over there. So here we are on the film side of things, man. So we're going to dive into the film of this game. Just a couple of things, some strengths, weaknesses that I want to take away from this, from the Vikings defense, what they do well, what they don't do well, things like that. But I want to touch on some of the key players as we go through this, okay? So we're first going to take a look at the run game. How can the Lions attack on the ground? And again, I have no problem with running the football. You need to run the football. Lions want to be a balanced offense. I get all of it. But you have to do it in the right way, and you have to know the opponent you're facing. And we know that the Vikings have a good run defense. So I would once again love to open up the run with the pass, especially if Stafford is healthy. I get if Daniel's a quarterback, then maybe you do it a little differently. But if Stafford's out there, I would love to, again, open up the run with the pass. Because if you keep this balance and if you open up the pass, it's different because the Vikings then can't sell out to get pressure right away to stop the run. If you start the opposite way, it makes it more difficult for their defense to get into a rhythm, and their pass defense really feeds off that run defense like our team does as well. So the first thing I want to show you is how not to run against this Vikings defense. And I think this goes back to the Falcons game a little bit, but it's rushing the ball to the outside. I don't love pushing the ball to the outside. I don't love, the plays that, pulls everybody to the outside. They're kind of slow. They need to be a quick hitter. If you're trying to get it outside the tackle, it needs to hit quick. Because if you take a long time, if you give them a nice sweep, things like that, it just takes too long. They just take too long, and this defense is fast. The Vikings defense, just their personnel alone, you will see their linebackers, they're fast. And their cornerbacks are willing to tackle, like ours are willing to tackle. You have Dantzler out there. We'll see if those guys are healthy. But they have cornerbacks that are willing to tackle, right? They brought in Chris Jones, and we have Chris Jones. He's willing to tackle. But what they have is fast linebackers. That front seven is pretty explosive. But they're not big. They're not big, bulky linebackers like ours that are run stuffers in the inside. These are guys that like to fly things to the outside and shut them down. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of them shutting down the run game. I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot. But anytime you go to the outside, it's just difficult because their pursuit is great. You can see already Dantzler up here. He may not play, but Eric Kendricks is the guy to keep an eye on. And I want to circle Eric Kendricks right now. That way we can just get it out of the way. That way you can just focus on him as we run through it. Eric Kendricks is one of the top linebackers that I've seen so far this year when it comes to our team or another team. And the thing that he does really well is he is fast, he's able to cover tight ends, and he's aggressive. They are a very aggressive defense, right? And like Mike Zimmer said, and we'll see some Packers footage as well, they adjusted defense. They are aggressive to stop the run to help out that pass game. He said he literally said, I wanted to protect my corners. So they go to cover two and things like that. But they want to stop the run first, obviously. And they're aggressive. And if you run to the outside, you're probably going to get beat there. So I don't love running these plays to the outside. It's too slow. Dantzler that time just explodes through. Again, he may not play, but you see it throughout their entire depth chart. Everything to the outside. There's a quick pitch. Eric Kendricks, you see him explode through, forces it, and the defensive lineman gets out there. And they usually, they play a 4-3 defense. So you have a 4th down lineman, you have the 3 linebackers, and they are just fast, right? They pursue really well. There's Eric Kendricks again, and then you see the defensive lineman gets off. You see the secondary dives down. They make the play. There's tons of examples of this, no matter who you look against. This time, it's a great job for Anthony Harris. They have really good safeties. Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris, those two guys. Harrison Smith a lot of times will dive down into the box. It depends on the situation. But you can see here, it looks like there's going to be a big hole. I mean, it looks like, okay, you pick up this block, and he's got a lot of room. That's a lot of room. But Anthony Harris does a great job pursuing down, and you can see they kind of just close the lanes up, right? And you can't pick that up. The offensive lineman just completely whiffs, just too much speed out there, and then Anthony Harris gets down. They hold it to a 3-yard gain or whatever it was. I think it was 3 yards. I think that's what NFL Game Pass said. But anyways, that's what you see. And this defense is too fast, right? You have to cut things inside because they're fast. And here they do a good job of filling that gap so he doesn't look like he can cut there. You can see the cornerback gets off the receiver. They're fast. They shed blocks well. It's really hard to block these cornerbacks. They play with that great aggressiveness. So there's just tons of examples that you can look through on why not to attack this team onto the outside, right? Now, here's where I want to attack them if you're going to do it. Behind the guard. I love when teams are running behind the guard. Sometimes the tackles, as long as you keep it in between tackle, I think you're going to have more success. And you got to mix some things to the outside. I'm not saying you can't run plays to the outside. They can't be successful. They just have to be quick. You got to get it there quick. One time I saw it kind of work is when they went out of a shotgun. I think it was the Packers. They went out of a shotgun, and they did a quick pitch right out of the shotgun. So you get it, you flick it out there, he's gone. He's got the pulling guards. That's quick. That's a quick hitter. Not these long one where it's like, okay, turn all the way around, flip it back 7 yards behind the play. That's not going to work against this team. Here's what I like. I like running behind the guard or the tackle. I like this. You get in between, you get inside the tackle here. That's what I like. I like this. Now you can see Chris Carson, he's a pretty big back. As much as people won't like to hear this, I like Adrian Peterson a lot before this matchup. I do. I think Adrian Peterson could go off. I like it because, again, what I touched on before, their linebackers are not the biggest. They're fast, right? They have some speed there. They're not little, but they're not the biggest, right? They're not these big, bulky guys. So what I like against this team, and again, this is why if you pass early, it helps. But because then you can get some passing formations out there. So you can go out of the gun, you can run it, things like that. I do like Peterson, though. Especially if the Lions are going to go I form under center. I like Peterson because I think Peterson has the strength. Plus, let's mention that this is his former team. When you're playing a former team, sometimes you just go off. Sometimes you just do it. So this could be a perfect time to get it going. But I like Peterson in this matchup because I like the strong running backs that follow the guard. Boom. You find the holes. He's got great vision. I saw some iffy vision with DeAndre Swift last week, right? And he just runs through the arm tackles, running hard. And he gets just a couple extra yards. And you see that, right? When they run behind the guard, again, they pull this time. The Packers do it a lot. They actually pull their tight end across. They cross block their tight end. There you can see following the guard, running through. That's where it seems like the weakness is. I mean, there's not a lot of weakness in this rushing attack defensively, but that's where it is. You can see, starts to stretch the outside, cut back lane. Boom, vision, cut back, and he gets about 6 yards. If you're getting that a pop, you're doing your thing. Last week, we were getting -3 yards a pop. That's not going to help you at all. We need these runs to be at least 4 yards a carry. At least 4 yards a carry. Give me that. Again, they stretch it, but he cuts it back inside. Doesn't need to do anything fancy with it. He's a strong running back. Look at this, running through the weak tackle. Get off me, man. That arm tackle, Peterson will do that. And if Swift gets it going, roll Swift because again, Swift has that explosion where if he finds the hole, he can hit the seam and gone. Peterson won't give you that, but I know Peterson will give you reliable, and I just love the matchup against the Vikings. Something about him playing his former team, I have that feeling he's going to have a big game, right? Finally away from his former team. I guess he was with Washington, but still, you know what I mean? I feel like he could have a big game. But again, Swift, he could do the same thing. As long as, you put him in the right position. I feel like we put these guys in position to fail. One, Swift's vision was a little questionable, but you're putting that guys in bad spots. You got to put your running backs behind the guards and tackles in this game, or it has to be quick to the outside. Again, running through the linebackers, picking up 2 extra yards. Chris Carson was eating in this game behind the guards, and that's where I saw a lot of success when it comes to rushing the football. They run a lot of cover 2, which we talked about last week, so we should be prepared for that, right? We talked about the routes that can beat that. Really putting the safety on an island where he has to choose. Sometimes, not this play, but sometimes you get him like here and here. That's tough because then all of a sudden the safety has to choose between the two, especially if it's a cover 2 defense. That stuff's great, and you're also sometimes going to get underneath plays. It just depends, how tight and if they're pressing the cover 2 or not. But they do a really good job of just saying, okay, we're going to force everything underneath, and you have to just take the dink and dunks. So I think passing on early down, dink and dunk is actually fine. It's really good against this defense because that will force you to get in shorter third down situations where it opens up the whole playbook. Now you get them at a 3rd and long, all of a sudden they let everything in front. They do a very good job of it. They let everything in front of them. They can blitz or they don't have to blitz. Their front 4 doesn't get a ton of pressure on their own. I don't see it, especially without Yannick. But these are coverage sacks that you're going to see, right? They run some stunts. Look, he's got all day. I mean, he has all day, but look how far he has to go. He's got a long way to go. So this is basically, useless. And you can see they have 2 here, and they just have good coverage. And they're honestly solid in man coverage. But again, they're missing some cornerbacks, so it'll be different. You can see this is just a complete coverage sack. That's what this is. This is a coverage sack by the Vikings here. And it made Rodgers uncomfortable. Okay, so you're thinking to yourself, all right, well, what if they blitz? What if we hit him with the quick cutter wide receiver screens? They can work, running back screens, whatever. But again, look who we're talking about, Eric Kendricks. This play I love. I love this from Eric Kendricks because, man, this is awesome. Okay. So Eric Kendricks is one of the keys. He's on the board. And the reason is because he does things like this. He can cover tight ends, but he's also great pre-snap. So he realizes that the running back's going out. That's Irvin swerving. He's going out, and he's going to get this quick screen. Watch how fast he gets there, where he gets there before the running back even gets the football, right? He's already back there. And by the time he gets it, if he catches that, he's taking a boom. He's better off dropping that pass, and Kendricks is there. They fly around. I mean, they're fast. So your advantage is power. I think you have strength advantage in this game, but it can't be obvious. You can't go out there and say, I-form handoff. Can't be predictable. You can run to the inside, but keep it guessing. Run out of the gun a little bit more. Hit him with some draw plays. The draw was good last week when we did it. Just don't go out and say, I-form handoff. Come on, man. Come on. Mix it up a little bit. Keep them guessing. Don't tell, okay? And if you're going to tell that, hey, look, it looks like a run. All of a sudden, we hit that play action. Early down play action, that helps as well. Here we go. You're going to see another quick hitter. This is a wide receiver screen, kind of one. It's just a quick hitter. It's just a one-on-one. He's not able to get free here. They have good tackling cornerbacks. I mean, that time it was Dantzler again. That's what they do well, right? They're an aggressive team, and I see some similarities in how they try to do things defensively. All right, so you got Kendricks here. You have a one-on-one here. If they pick up their blocks, it should be fine, right? He gets about, 5 yards, but keep in mind, this is on the 3rd down. So this is kind of goes back to how they disguise things, right? This is a 3rd and 9. And I don't know if Rodgers checked to this or what, but this is a 3rd and 9. They're showing about 6 guys inside here. But what they're going to do is they're actually going to drop both Kendricks and this linebacker. So it's only a 4-man rush. So this quick pass, all of a sudden Kendricks is dropping there automatically. And now you have 4 bodies in this area against a receiver and 2 blockers, right? So they need they need the 9 yards. They're not going to get it. All they have to do is go up and make the tackle. Now, I think an advantage we have over Packers is that we have more weapons to win one-on-ones. We can win one-on-ones, I think, more consistently than what the Packers could, because I don't think they have enough weapons to win one-on-ones consistently. So those cornerbacks don't get burnt as often. This one is a little tougher to see, but you can see he takes a shot to the corner route here. That's just great coverage. And this is where I want to show Anthony Harris, right? Anthony Harris, this is good coverage. He's got a tight end. There's a gap here. Tight ends, you're usually mismatched for safeties because they're too small. Look at him get up, make a play on the football. It's a little blurry that time, and it's incomplete. They do throw a flag, but it wasn't on the defense that time. You hit him with that in route. Look, when you get them in third downs, it's tough because they do things like this. This is 7 guys. They're showing 7. Right? So Aaron Rodgers is looking at this, okay, they're bringing the blitz. They're bringing the pressure. All of a sudden, Harrison Smith is dropping before he even looks back. You drop both of your linebackers. Now it's just a simple 4-man rush. And, he's looking at that quick out, not there. Then he goes to the corner, and it's good. And it's good coverage once again. Now he makes a really good grab on that, but it's good coverage. In this game, as a quarterback, you need to be aggressive. You need to be willing to throw it into coverage and trust that your guys can go make the one play. This is why it stinks we don't have Galladay, but you have to be willing to, because they're look at where the separation is here. How much separation really is there? There's not much at all. You have to be willing to throw these one-on-ones and trust that your guys can go get it. That's good coverage that time. You have to trust that your guys can go make that play, and I think Stafford needs to keep the aggressiveness. This time, look, he's got time, right? They bring a little bit of a blitz, but he's got time. They do a good job. They bring a cross route here in the zone. So he's got his open man. How many times do you see Rodgers do this? Straight over his head. How many times do you see that, right? Out of the greatness, right? That's greatness. Here we go. This is where they get their shot, right? This is where you get your shot. Okay, boom. You hit him with the inside route. You hit him here. This opens up the zone. So they had 3 deep, right? This opens up your zone because now you're worried about this guy. And all of a sudden, you have your tight end who goes deep, right? You have this guy here. So it opens up the 3 deep. He splits the safeties, and he's got a shot. Maybe, he kept running there. He kind of fell with it, but, he wasn't able to score a touchdown. That's when they did it. You have to be willing to take shots in this game. I think you could open up with the dink and dunk, but Stafford needs to be willing to throw it in tight coverage and say, okay, my guy's got to go win this battle, because it's pretty tight everywhere. You can see here they bring pressure. Whoever their quarterback is, whether it's Daniel or Stafford, have to be willing to put it in a spot where, hey, look, there's some good coverage, but I'm going to trust my one-on-ones. I'm going to trust that my one-on-ones can make this play, and that's what you have to do. And you have to throw it really well, because if you're inaccurate, it's tough. Stay out of third down and long. They're one of the best teams against third down because they disguise things well. If you're going to run the ball, don't sell it. Run it to the inside. Look at Peterson early. I think Peterson will get it going early. I really do against his former team. I think he might break one early. But again, don't show it away. Don't sell it and be like, okay, here's what we're doing. You can hit him with the play action, but keep in mind it's a fast defense. Kind of like the Colts. If you hit him with the play action bootleg, it can work because you can use that speed to your advantage, right? Use that against them. But keep in mind, they are pretty fast to get to the quarterback. I think the Lions are in a better spot here because I think we have better weapons. Even without Galladay, I think our receivers are just better. Same thing with our tight ends than the Packers had. Don't get yourself in third and longs, right? Be willing to take shots. Kendricks is the guy that you have to keep an eye out for because he'll be big. And again, which quarterback are we rolling in with here? But honestly, the game plan is kind of simple here, right? Just don't be obvious. Don't sell it. It has to be like this every game. You can run the football against this team. They're not as good as a run defense, but run it in between the tackles. I just don't like it outside unless it's a quick hitter. If it's a quick hitter, go for it. You can mix that in. And again, when it comes to throwing ball, be willing to take the dink and dunks, but force some shots. Okay, you're going to have to force shots in this game. I just see too good of man coverage, and they get beat. I think their problem is they're not finishing the plays in the back end, but you have to be willing to take the shots. Force the shots, okay? If it's one-on-one, trust your guy to go make the play. I want Stafford to play in this game because I think if Darrell Bevell lets him go out of the gun, hand it off from out of the gun, use your pass game as an extension of the run. If it's not working, dump it off to your running back. Run some draws. Get the run game going inside. Play out of the gun a little bit here. Give Stafford more time to read the defense. That way he's not under constant pressure. This front four isn't great like the Colts front four. So unless they're blitzing, you're going to have time in the pocket. It's where coverage sacks. So you got to be willing to say, I'm going to fit it in between the zone. And that's where Stafford big arm comes to play. The Lions have the matchups to put up some points and to score 24 plus in this game. I see that. But hopefully they can get some help for their defense, get a couple turnovers, put themselves in a better spot. Because when the offense doesn't turn over, they win games, and they beat teams that are pretty darn good, and they're competitive. So, they've been competitive against a lot of teams. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Do our preview / prediction later. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Are you kidding me right now? I had to put my helmet on for this one. Are you kidding? Look at this. Look at all these members. What? Yo, hey. Shout out to all the members, man. Look how many All-Pro members there are. Like, literally, it's the whole screen, dog. This is crazy. The patrons, of course, the Hall of Fame members, man. Y'all got the gold color. It's kind of yellow, but it's supposed to be gold. Shout out to all the members, man. If you want to be a part of this, all you got to do is join the channel. But There are perks that come with it. Stay locked in the community tab if you are a member, because that's where a lot of information comes out. I appreciate all of you. What?